we can now confirm, and we're going to try and hook up with our sources up there in Anchorage in just a little bit. Governor Sarah Palin of Alaska has just announced that she will not run for re-election as governor in Alaska in this coming term. Chris, did I get that right? All right, CNN can now confirm that Governor Sarah Palin of Alaska, and I'm just repeating this almost for myself to make sure that we get this right as we report it on the air. And the information that we're getting is this. Sarah Palin will announce shortly that she will not run for re-election in Alaska in her next term. We're going to have Candy Crowley, who's going to be joining us in just a little bit. And in the meantime, we should tell you, because we made these phone calls and turned this around, when we got the information, we had one of the folks here from our national desk come and tell us, Steve Brusk, that this was likely to happen. So our booker got on the phone and called Anchorage. We called the newspaper there, and we've called some reporters to monitor this speech for us. We're going to see if we can possibly turn it around so you can hear it as it happens. We're also now putting calls into Candy Crowley to make sure she can back this up for us. But the information, again, confirmed, is that Sarah Palin will not seek another term as governor of the state of Alaska. And I know what many people are thinking out there politically. Does this mean that she is setting up for a run for the presidency, that she hopes to be the candidate for the GOP in the upcoming election for the United States? And it certainly is a viable and important question. Sarah Palin, for some time now, has, as you know, been in the news. We've been following the situation for you from both Anchorage and where Sarah Palin made her run or her bid for the vice presidency with John McCain. She's been as controversial as anything else and also as popular as anything else. And it's that double-edged sword that a lot of the political insiders say when they refer to Sarah Palin. There's likely not a Republican who has been as popular with one sector of the Republican Party, or at least those who follow the Republican Party, as Sarah Palin. And I think no one can take that away from her. On the other side of the coin, she's also been extremely controversial and been questioned by some within her own party, and that's where the problem may be. Is she a net win or a net loss for the Republican Party as a potential candidate for heading up the ticket? That's a question that's going to be left for pundits and insiders to answer, but certainly it's important information that we received about Sarah Palin at this point, deciding that she's not going to be running for re-election. Now, there's another part of this story, and I'm going to get into this conversation in just a moment with Candy Crowley, but there's also a possibility that because things have not been going as well in Alaska as they were for Sarah Palin in the past, there's a possibility that she's chosen not to run for governor again, because she doesn't think her chances there would be very good. And that may have absolutely nothing to do with her bid for the presidency of the United States. So there's a lot that goes into this. And, you know, part of that has to do with what's going on economically in the United States and the price of oil, which, as some insiders in Alaska will tell you, as the price of oil goes, so goes the term of any governor of Alaska. So certainly that comes into the equation as well. Candy Crowley's been watching this for us for some time. She's been carefully monitoring what the speech might be, and it seems that we're now able to confirm ahead of time what it is. Candy's joining us, as you can see there now. This is kind of stunning for anyone who's watching this, because if anything, Sarah Palin's name has been as tied to Alaska as just about any governor that certainly I've ever heard of in my lifetime, Candy.
Well, sure, but maybe she would like to tie her name to some other states like Iowa and New Hampshire. It is very hard. If you want to run for president, I'm not saying she does. There could be multiple reasons for this apparent decision not to run again for governor. But, you know, the question is what most candidates have found over the years from Bob Dole on, it's very difficult to have a day job and run for president. Her term runs through the end of next year. That brings us through 2010. And I don't know if you remember, but about 2 years ahead of an election is when everybody starts running to Iowa and New Hampshire, and that's really difficult to do when you've got a day job. So there would be reasons for it if she has presidential ambitions. There would be reasons for it if she's just had it with the political world. I mean, we could certainly go back through any number of things that have happened since
but what about what I mentioned just a little while ago? Ohio. I mean, look, let's face it. Sarah Palin was extremely popular in her state, and that's not to say that she's not still popular in her state, but I think just from my read, and maybe you can agree or disagree on this, her popularity may have waned somewhat in recent months, and it may have to do with her politics. It may have to do with the price of oil. What it is in Alaska these days. But could that just be a reason for her to say, look, I'm not going to go after this thing because it's not going to be as easy as it's been in the past?
Listen, it has also been my experience that when politicians think they can win, they go ahead and do it. And her polls still have majority support in Alaska. At least the last ones we looked at, it was a Democratic-leaning poll, and it showed, yes, that she had gone down from the 80% she had when she was nominated or when she was selected by John McCain to run on the ticket with him. So it's gone down, but she still remains majority popular in Alaska. But you're right, she's taken a lot of hits, not just what happened in the national campaign, but there's been investigations back home about what she did or didn't do to get a trooper fired. There'd been any number of any number of problems that cropped up, most lately with the stimulus bill. She wondered whether Alaska should take some of the money. And also it tends to really tick people off back home if they look up and their governor is giving a speech in Ohio or here or there, and looks like they're not paying attention. So you're right, it could be that, but I think looking at the polls, you would still have to bet on her to win should she choose to run again, even though obviously it looks like she's not going to do that.
I mean, I'm kind of going to ask you a question that is a bit of a challenging one, I think, but no, but it's one that I think a lot of people are thinking about. If she were to run, would she today, as things stand, do you believe, with your experience, and you're as experienced politically as anybody we got here in this shop, would you consider her a front runner?
In the Republican Party?
Yes.
For the presidential nomination? No. I would consider her up there, at least if you go by what we have seen. You've got Mitt Romney, who is out there, who is, by the way, going into some of those states where you need early support, keeping those contacts going. You see Mike Huckabee, who also ran the last time around, who has certainly made signals that he might want to run again. And when we see a poll among Republicans, they all tend to be up there in about the same range.
Well, here's one now. Here's one now. Chris Hall, my producer, just popped one up for us.
Right.
Look at this one.
Sharp
Huckabee
producer.
22, Sarah Palin 21. So
right, and Mitt Romney 21.
So they're really,
and honestly, at this point, it tends to be whose name people recognize. I mean, this is a poll of Republicans. Nonetheless, people go, oh, yeah, because they recognize a name. It's pretty far out to say too much about that kind of polling.
Yeah, at this point, you're right. I think it becomes more of a popularity contest than anything else, and it really comes down to nuts and bolts when they actually start debating and talking about the issues. And then it's all about who has more skeletons in their closets as well.
Well, that happens
as you
a
know.
time or two.
Candy, here's what we're going to do. If we get this this statement from her, and we're trying to see if we can do that, we'll play that, and we might get you back. Are you going to be hanging around?
Absolutely.
All right, thanks, Candy. Sure. We'll go back to you.